Hey there, techies, and welcome to another review. Today we're going to be taking a look at Avira Free Security, otherwise known as Avira Free Antivirus. Now, I don't have the website up because there really is not much in the way of details on there other than just the standard marketing for antiviruses that they're going to protect your privacy, protect you from malware, that kind of thing. So we're just going to jump right into the test here today, starting off with the installation. All right, so if we look here, we have the EULA, but I'm not seeing any sort of options for a custom installation. So we're going to go ahead then and just click Agree and Install. And it says to take a break, and you'll get notified when the installation is done. Estimated time about 4 to 5 minutes. So we're going to speed up the video here, and we'll see how long it takes. All right, so it says that we're all set here, and it's asking if we want to run a smart scan, which we are going to end up, well, actually, you know what, let's just do one now and we'll see what it finds, but it won't find anything in the way of malware. But as you can see, it's going to scan for some privacy issues, performance issues, outdated apps, as well as some network threats, throw in viruses as well for good measure. So once this is all done, we'll see what it finds. All right, so it looks like we're virus free, thank goodness, and our network is safe. However, it's saying that we have 4 outdated apps, and it looks like VMware as well as Microsoft Visual is out of date as well. All right, let's go back and take a look here. We have our browser is private, 21 privacy settings to fix. Let's see what we got here. Looks like that's nice to see how they're going to disable the telemetry services. So there's a lot of other programs like O&O Shutup, which you can use as well to do that. But that's cool to see that they actually integrate this right into Avira. Under performance, it looks like we have one slow startup app. Was it Opera Browser Assist? So that's interesting how it actually installed Opera on this computer. They must have some sort of a deal with Opera. As to where they basically are bundling it with their software, because I did not have an option to opt out of the Opera browser whatsoever. Looks like they've also found 77 registry entries that could be cleaned up and 900 megabytes of space that they could free up. So we'll go ahead and just click fix issues, I suppose, and see how it works, or at least you might as well, right? All right, and then it looks like it freed up 104 megabytes of space only. It looks like you'd have to go and fix the rest with a more detailed. We'll just go ahead and say not today. All right, so here's the main interface then. It says here your antivirus protection is on, and we were updated 1 minute ago. We have a smart scan button right here, and then it kind of gives you security, privacy. I don't really feel like these do any sort of things, but they look cool, I guess. So if we go over here to the left side of the screen, you'll see we have 4 buttons. We have status, security, privacy, and performance. So starting at security, we have our virus scans button, which gives you options for full, quick, or managed scans, which essentially is going to be your custom scans window. You can also set scheduled scans here to the right of the scan button for quick scan and full scan. If we go to protection options, you'll notice that real-time protection is enabled. However, web protection, email protection, and ransomware are all disabled. These are features of the paid version of Avira, and I really would like to see them include the ransomware protection in the free version, kind of like Avast does, just because ransomware is such a problem nowadays and so prevalent out there on the internet. I do really think that they should include this and would like to see that included maybe in a future update. Who knows, maybe Avira will do that. But we'll see how well their existing security measures play out. So moving on here, I think we pretty much get your quarantine, software updater, and firewall right here. Firewall is only the Windows firewall. You do have to pay for their internet security if you want to get the Avira firewall. So that does use only the Windows firewall. Privacy, browser safety, block tracking, and ads in Chrome. We also have a VPN, password manager, file shredder, as well as the link to Opera browser, secure browser, we'll call it. Looks like performance. We have optimizer, battery saver, driver updater, duplicate file finder, and some other advanced tools in which you can use to try to optimize your system's performance. Kind of nice that they include that in the product. And up here we do have an options button, and doesn't look like it gives much in the way of options here. Just basically language settings. Okay. I really wish they had more options. It's got to be some more in here somewhere. Protection. Oh, we don't want that. Go away. Oh, it looks like there's a little gear right there. Let's click on this. Okay, there we go. So I really wish they'd have that a little bit more visible. But in here, it looks like we can change a whole bunch of different settings. Basically, where the system is going to scan, whether you want optimized scans, and then scan the registry, scan priority, you can also adjust in there. Looks like action on detection, you can adjust that, as well as heuristics and the archive files you'd like to scan. You can also do reports, just real-time scanning settings in here. And it looks like, okay, we can also adjust the heuristics sensitivity level, as well as you can do update options. And then your firewall settings, if you were to have the paid one. This, however, will just basically link you to the Windows firewall. And then general, we just have some different threat categories here you can look for, as well as some advanced cloud protection that's included with this. And then you can also set a password. So if you have kids and don't want them shutting down Avira, you can go ahead and set a password for specific areas of the security. And then the rest of this, we're just going to kind of skim over. You got events, reports, directories that you want to store temp files in, warnings. That's pretty much going to be it. So going back here, I think that's pretty much it for the interface. Looks like we have a last problem issues to fix. Okay, so it does show you. It looks like the issues that you have. So this is probably the outdated apps here. Check your device or network. However, clicking on them doesn't do anything. That'd be really nice if I were to click on them. I guess get full results. Oh no, what is it? Oh, okay, whatever. I think that's a get full results, but it looked like it was doing under the scan. I guess I should have probably fully read that. Anyways. It says our last update was 6 minutes ago, so there is no need to update the product again. And we're going to go ahead, close it out. And actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to reboot the system before we actually, oh, it looks like it opened up Opera for me to let me know that it put that on the system. That's nice. So we'll put Avira down here. And then I'm going to go ahead, reboot the system. Once the system is rebooted, I will be back and we will start the web threat portion of the test. All right, so we've rebooted the computer and Avira is on. Let's take a look quick before we run some malware at how many processes are running as well as their system resource usage. So it looks like we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Looks like 11 processes running. That's quite a bit. That's a little bit more than I'd like to see. However, it does look like they have separated out their modules. I noticed down here, for instance, or somewhere here, they have their shred, which is basically their shredding program. You can see they have their VPN service, the software updater, and a few other modules kind of laid out here. So overall, though, it doesn't appear to be using an overly exorbitant amount of CPU, as well as memory does seem a little, it's not too high, and the system does feel pretty responsive. So overall, I am going to say that it feels pretty light on the system, at least for today's standards. All right, so let's go ahead and start with the malicious URLs. So we do have 50 malicious and phishing URLs, and they are actually all from today. So we're going to see how well Avira can stop these coming from the web. Now, Avira's always been known for their really good signatures, so we're going to kind of see if anything has changed since the last time that I tested them. Okay, so far it looks like we have quite a bit of malware downloading. I don't know exactly what happened there. Okay, looks like we're getting some alerts. I don't know if it opened up in a separate window or if the malware actually caused all the tabs to close there, but regardless, we'll see details. And it looks like it has blocked couple pieces of malware right here, 2 files in quarantine. Okay, why does it seem like the interface just changed on me? It's kind of interesting. Okay, that is really interesting. We're going to continue with the test, I guess. And I don't know why, like I said, it seems to have kind of canceled out some of the links there. So we're going to go ahead and, I guess, allow these to all run on the system. Looks like actually quite a few of them maybe. Okay, it looks like it's now quarantining them as I click the keep button on them here. So we'll go through, select all these. Let's show in the folder and see what we got. Okay, so it looks like, let's just try to run some of these here and see what we get. Okay, that one is not working. So it looks like these have all been quarantined. Kind of seeing here, just running them, as it looks like Avira is getting rid of them as I'm running them. However, these look like they might be running. So we'll keep running these here, I guess, and see what happens. Okay. Let's take a look at virus total now and see what we, or I should say virus total. Let's take a look at our Process Explorer and see what we got running on the system. Okay, it does look like we have those pieces of malware that are running on the system right now. So that's not a good sign for Avira at this point. But we'll continue with the test and see what we get. All right, so I feel like the web threat test didn't go nearly as well as we wanted it to. As we do have, you can see, as you know, we do have a lot of malware that did get quarantined. Some, as you can see, with the looks like heuristics, and that was the cloud heuristics that did it. Let's go ahead and just delete all these because we don't need them on our system. It says files cleaned. Perfect. I'm still kind of confused as to why it appears my interface has changed. They literally have 2 interfaces for this. Now, yeah, that's interesting. I don't really particularly care for that at all. And we do still have those pieces of malware running in the background. So, all right, let me go ahead. Let's see, what do we want to do here next? Let's first of all show you guys what we have for malware samples today. So I'm going to pull up the old archive of malware and show you what we have for samples. As you can see, we have 3,010 samples of malware. 3,010 extra thrown in there for good measure, you know, just to see if that makes the difference. So we're going to go ahead, extract these, let the real-time scanner have at her, and once everything is done and the on-demand scanner has found no more malware, we will go ahead and see what we have remaining and then test the remaining samples to see how the program reacts with 0-day malware. So once this is all done scanning, we'll be back. All right, so the scan has finished, and that was a very fast scan. and it says it detected 1,909 objects. So we're going to go ahead and click the apply now, and it should go through now and go ahead and delete all of the malware that it detected. So once it's done, I'll redo another scan and we'll see what that finds, or at least we'll keep scanning until it finds no additional pieces of malware. All right, so the scan has finished, and unfortunately it is stuck in the sense of detecting about 42 to 45 threats that it is not removing from the system. Now I have also went into the settings and told it to automatically delete for its primary action, hoping that maybe it was trying to repair them or move them to quarantine, and that deleting them would in a sense basically move them or get rid of the files. But unfortunately, if we go in here, I converted the files to exe so that we could run them, and you can see these failed to convert. So I'm assuming these are the threats that it has cleaned but yet are still there. So they basically disinfected them, removing the malicious code or the malicious payload. Yet when we scan them, they still do show up, as you can see here, as malicious files, which is unfortunate because if you were to, let's say, have these files somewhere on your system, you would have to then basically go and manually remove each file. Otherwise, every time you scan your system, it's going to say you have detections that unfortunately it will not remove. So that's kind of unfortunate to see for Avira's sake in this test. I really wish that it would be able to remove those, and it should be able to remove those, quite frankly. So we're going to go ahead, close out of that, and let's go ahead. We are going to leave everything else at default, but we'll leave that at that. So we're going to go ahead, turn on the real-time scanner again, and we're going to open up our folder and run the malware and see what we have, or how well Avira can go ahead. Oh, before we do that, we have to, first of all, see what we have left and do our detection results. So let's grab our calculator. And if I remember correctly, it was 3010 that we started out with. So we'll do that. And then let's see, we got 261. And then divide that by our starting. And that gives us a detection rate of about 92%. So barely in the 90 percentile range, but nevertheless, it has gotten in the 90s. So that is a very good detection result right there. But can it defend against malware it doesn't know? That is a different story here. I don't know why I have two of these things open. All right, so we got our Process Explorer, and now I have noticed that if you notice the processes earlier that we did have running, the malware has seemed to disappeared. So either Avira has found that, or it just decided that it could not initiate its payload, or timed out, or completed its payload and went ahead and closed itself. So we'll see here what we get. All right, let's scroll to the top, and we're going to go ahead, start running some malware. File number 1, here we go. right, so it looks like our system is pretty infected with it. Looks mostly like adware. If we look over here at virus, our process explorer, which has virus total results on the side, it doesn't appear that we have too many infections actually running on the system, or at least files that have been detected by virus total. Because it looks like we may have a couple infections there. For sure, and it looks like our system is restarting. I was gonna get to the fact that Avira was requesting a system restart. I don't think there was a countdown clock. We will see whether it was Avira, I guess, or a piece of malware, which has now automatically rebooted our system. So once we are back up, I will attempt to do a scan with Avira, as well as the Hitman Pro scan, to see what is exactly on the system. So we'll be back. All right, so the full system scan from Avira has finished, and it found no remaining threats. If we go ahead and switch over to Hitman Pro, it's a little bit different story over here. As you can see, we do have malware on the system. However, none of this malware is actually running. We do have malware on the system. As you can see, the installation temp file or directories over here and app data. Granted, they are just some temp files, but nevertheless, they are malware. Now, these infections in the downloads folder, these are remnants from our web threat analysis test earlier. But you can see, according to Hitman Pro, or I should say Bitdefender, which was the signature that essentially detected these, they are malicious files. And then we have one more threat down here, which is just basically a potentially unwanted application, or essentially adware. All right. So with those results, also I should say before I get into the actual results, the tray icon down here seems to disappear. That's the second time it's done that for me, so I don't know why that's happening exactly. I know Komodo's had some problems with their tray icon too, so it might be related as to something with Windows more than the program itself. However, it does appear that everything is functioning normally within the program. You can see it's still running in the background perfectly fine, regardless of the fact that the tray icon is not working. And it could be the malware that executed on the system earlier that did cause some issues as well. All right, so the results. What do I think about Avira? Is it a viable option for an internet security solution or antivirus solution? I think it's got potential. I think you definitely want to pair it with some sort of a behavior block or a sandboxing type of application, such as let's say maybe Komodo Firewall. If you really do want to run Avira, just to take advantage of the automatic sandboxing feature of Komodo, due to the fact especially they do not offer any sort of ransomware protection. And that is the biggest concern that I have, especially considering you saw a lot of this adware on the system and quite frankly some malware execute with no problem and remain on the system. So definitely to see some ransomware protection would be good for the program, but as of right now, definitely pairing this with a different program that would have some much better behavioral components to add to the game here and protection on your computer, that would be something you'd want to consider running in addition to Avira. The interface wise, I do like it. I think it is a lot cleaner than the old interface that they had. If you remember, the old interface was just kind of very bland, text-based. It was very much similar to, I'm trying to remember where it is right now. It was very much just the same style as the settings window here, where you had basically just some context menus and things like that, and then the basic Windows scheme kind of outlining that. So as you can see, this is remaining kind of some remnants of the old style interface. Very functional, but not necessarily very aesthetically pleasing. Whereas this one is more modern and aesthetically pleasing. So I think that's going to pretty much be it. One other thing I do want to point out is the fact that the threats earlier did not get removed. Earlier in the video, we had that when we scanned the folder of malware, those 40-some threats that just would not end up, were just basically undeletable by the application. And that's something that I'd really like to see Avira work harder on, is being able to remove those threats fully and not necessarily just disinfecting them or leaving them on the system to the point where they're still, that malware is still there and is going to still show up in scans, but it is actually gone or completely rendered inert to the point where no antivirus engine would be able to recognize the code as being malicious anymore. So yeah, it's a decent program. However, it does have some work, and quite frankly, I feel like maybe Avira has gone downhill a little bit. I feel like in the past they have done better. They've always been known though for their signatures, and their signatures have still held in my mind. They still are in the 90th percentile. I think they were 92% detection rate on the folder of 3,000 malware samples. So that's still pretty good. I can't say that I would not recommend Avira at all because of that. That would be something that would definitely be on the top reasons to use this product. So with that said, hope you enjoyed the review, and we'll see you in the next one.